Good morning, students. Today we have to start from page 37, last paragraph. From here, the frozen moisture. The frozen moisture of its breathing had settled on its fur in a fine powder of frost, and especially where its jaws, muzzle and eyelashes whitened by its crystal breath. So what happened? Here, the author is talking about the dog. What happened because it was very cold. So, and the dog was breathing. So the breath, because of his breath, what happened? That moisture, whenever you breathe out or exhale, there is some amount of moisture in it. So, and because it was very cold outside, so that breath, that moisture in the breath, it has settled on its fur in a fine powder of frost. In the form of powdery frost, it had settled, and especially where its jaws. Jaws, the cheeks, the flesh on the cheeks, right? And the lower jaw. So on this, the area near the face, near the mouth, it had settled down there. And what is the muzzle? The long nose, which the animals have, right? The nose and the mouth, that protruding portion, that is the muzzle. And eyelashes whitened by its crystal breath. So because of that crystal frost, they were white. They were turned into white. So a white, fine, powdery deposit was there near the area of his mouth, nose, and cheeks. The man's red beard and mustaches were likewise frosted. Similar was the condition of the man. The man's beard, mustaches, they were also white in color. They were also frosted. They were his beard was reddened, right? So because he was eating something, chewing something, and spitting out, were likewise frosted. But more solidly, the deposit taking the form of ice and increasing with every warm, moist breath he takes. So there was kind of ice, some fine ice near the area of man's mouth also. And every time he breathed out, what happened? That increased. Because every time he will breathe out, what will happen? It will have more moisture, and because it will have more moisture, the area of ice around his face, around his mouth, it kept on increasing. And increasing with with every warm, moist breath he exhaled. So every time he exhaled, that area was increasing. Also, the man was chewing tobacco, and the muzzle of ice held his lips so rigidly that he was unable to clear his chin when he expelled the juice. So what happened? Because the man was chewing tobacco also. So because he was chewing tobacco, so that muzzle of ice which was formed, that covering, muzzle means that covering of the mouth, right? Which was formed of ice. What happened? That kept on increasing, and he was not able to release it. So he was not able to clear that portion from his chin. Why was he not able to? Whenever he used to spit out, the people who eat tobacco, they spit out after some time. They spit a lot. So what happened? That every time he used to spit, some portion got stuck on his face, on his chin, and he was not able to clear it. Because again, the moment it was there, it was turned into ice. So clear his chin when he expelled the juice. So when he threw the juice out of his mouth, he was not able to clear it because immediately it was turned into ice. And so it kept on depositing there. The result was that, and what was the result of it? That the crystal beard of the color and solidity of amber was increasing its length on the chin. So amber means yellow color, like the yellow brown color. Orange yellow color is amber. So every time it increased, increasing its length on the chin. So that crystal beard was increasing. Every time he used to spit, some portion got deposited, turned into ice on his chin, and it kept on increasing. That crystal beard was increasing and becoming, it was solidified immediately. So the length of his chin was continuously increasing. If he fell down, it would shatter itself like glass into brittle fragments. So if he fell down, if somehow the man, see, a beard of ice kind of a thing was being formed and it was increasing in size near his chin, on his chin rather, right? And so the writer says that if the man falls, then what will happen? Then this glass will shatter, like this beard will shatter like the glass shatters into brittle fragments, into small pieces it will shatter. But he did not mind the appendage. But man didn't mind the appendage. Appendage means that extra addition which was there, na? That extended portion of his beard which was there. He didn't mind it. He was perfectly okay with it, right? So he didn't even made efforts to remove it from there. It was the penalty all tobacco chewers paid in that country, and he had been out before in 2 cold snaps. So this was the penalty. This was kind of a penalty or the punishment which the tobacco chewers in that country, in such cold countries, they had to pay. And he had been out before in 2 cold snaps. 2 cold snaps means very cold weather, right? This was the 3rd time that he was out in a cold weather in his life. Before also, he was out for a very short period of time in cold weather. So this was his 3rd outing in such kind of weather. But this was the most severe one. They had not been so cold as this. That's what I said, that it was more severe than his last 2 outings, because the last 2 outings, the last 2 cold snaps which he had in the past, they were not as severe as this one. He knew, but by the spirit thermometer at 60 miles, he knew they had been registered at 50 below and at 55. So the last 2 outings which he had in the cold weather, right? The temperature was 50 and 55. But what was the temperature now? Now the temperature was 75 below zero, right? We have been told this earlier in the chapter. So this was the most severest and the most and perhaps the coldest weather when he was out. So in his last 2 outings which he did in the past, the temperature was just registered at 50 below and at 55. So they were not as cold as this one, right? He held on through the level stretches of woods for several miles, crossed a wide flat of niggerheads. Niggerheads, what is the meaning of niggerheads? Can anyone tell? No. Niggerheads are like white flats of niggerhead. They are like rocks, right? Big, huge, black colored rocks. And drop down a bank to the frozen bed or a stream. So he passed these areas, level stretches of woods, level stretches of forests. He passed for several miles, crossed a wide flat of niggerhead. White flat of the niggerhead means that wide area of black rocks, black rocks or black stone he passed, and then dropped down a bank to a frozen bed of a small stream, right? Then a frozen bed means there was a small stream which was frozen, which was almost frozen, right? Turned into ice, and he crossed that area. This was Henderson Creek. So this area was known as Henderson Creek. And he knew he was 10 miles from the fork. And he knew that fork means where the road divides into 2. So, and he knew that he was 10 miles away from the fork. He looked at his watch. It was 10 o'clock. So the time was already 10 o'clock in the morning. He was making 4 miles an hour. And the distance which he was covering with his present speed was 4 miles per hour. And he calculated that he would arrive at the forks at 12:30. So at what time will he be able to reach the fox? He will be able to reach the fox at 12:30. That is 12:30. He decided to celebrate that event by eating his lunch there. So he decided that when he'll reach the fox, he will celebrate that event, his achievement, by having lunch at 12:30. The dog dropped in again at his, with the tail drooping discouragement as the man swung along the field. The dog dropped them again at his heels. The dog, we know that was that he was reluctant to move along with the man. He wanted fire at this moment because it was very cold. But again, because the man was going and he had to accompany him, so he also started following the man with the tail drooping discouragement. Tail drooping discouragement means his tail, his body language was such, his tail was telling, he was trying to discourage, right? He was showing some kind of reluctance in accompanying the man. He didn't want to do it. He didn't want to travel in such cold weather along with the man. So that is why his tail was drooping. It was fallen, hanging downward, right? Which was a signal of discouragement, his reluctance. As the man swung along the creek bed, as the man went along walking the creek bed. Creek bed is a channel which is made by the river or a stream. The furrow of the old sled trail was plainly visible. So the path which was made by the old sled, which must have passed that way, that was visible. But a dozen inches of snow covered the marks of the last one. But because the snow was continuously falling, so most of it was covered by the last runner. Last runner means the last sled which has passed that way. It was covered with frost. In a month, no man had come up or down that silent. Now you can understand the severity of the weather. That from the past 1 month, no man had traveled that path because the marks were not quite visible. So it shows that the weather was very cold, and so the people, they were not passing that way. No sled has passed that way, up or down the silent. The man held steadily on, but the man was not discouraged by all these things. He held steadily onto his journey. He was not been much given to thinking. He was not the type of man who would think and contemplate and ponder a lot. And just then, particularly, he had nothing to do. And rather, he was not a very contemplating type of a man. He didn't think much. If he would have thought the consequences of moving out of the house at this time, he would have definitely avoided this journey. But we come to know from the way he was behaving that he was not a man who was given to thinking, right? Who used to think a lot. And just then, particularly, he had nothing to think. And the other reason was that at this present moment, when he was walking, he didn't have much to think about, save would be in the camp with the, save that he would eat lunch at the box, and that at 6 o'clock he would be in the camp with the boy. The only thing which he could think at this moment was that he will have lunch at this time, and then he will be in the camp with the boys by 6 in the evening. These were the only things which he could think of at this moment. There was nothing else for him to think. There was nobody to talk to. And had there been, the speech would have been impossible. Why would the speech be impossible? Can anyone tell me why would the speech be impossible? The first thing the author says that there was nobody to talk, right? The man didn't have a company to talk to. He only had the company of a dog. And obviously he's not going to talk to his dog. So he says, the author says that the man didn't have any company to talk. There was no one who was traveling along with him so that he can talk something. And had there been, and even if he would have had someone to talk to, the speech would have been impossible because of the ice muzzle on his mouth. Because a lot of ice was there on his mouth. It had formed a covering over his mouth. So he won't be able to speak, right? That would hinder his speech. The ice, the frost, because of his breath and because of the tobacco which he was chewing and spitting out, and everything was getting converted into ice, increasing the length of his beard. So what happened? Because of the ice muzzle, the ice covering which was formed over his mouth, that hindered his speech. So even if he would have had someone to talk to, it would have been impossible for him to do so with the covering of ice over his mouth. So he continued monotonously to chew tobacco and to increase the length of his amber beard. So what he did, he continued chewing tobacco, more and more tobacco, and increasing the length of his beard, amber colored beard, that is orange, yellowish color beard. He went on doing that. Any problem till here? Once in a while, the thought reiterated itself that it was very cold and that he had never experienced such. So once in a while, this thought also came into his mind that it is very cold and he had never experienced such cold weather, right? You remember in the past, he had had 2 cold snaps, but again, it was not as cold as this one, right? In the past, he has traveled in the cold weather, in very cold weather, but the temperatures were somewhere around 50 to 55. But this time the temperatures 50 to 55 below zero, and now the temperatures were 75 below zero. So this was much colder than his last 2 cold snaps. Once in a while, this thought also came into his head that the weather is very cold and he has never experienced such cold weather. As he walked along, he rubbed his cheekbones and nose with the back of his mittens. So you must have seen this in the movie, that as he was walking, he rubbed with the back of his mittens, the mittens which he was wearing on his hand, the gloves which he was wearing on his hand. He was continuously rubbing his cheekbones. Cheekbones are these bones, right? So he continuously rubbed his cheekbones and nose with his mittens, with the back of his hand. He did this automatically now and again, changing his hand. And this was something which he was doing automatically without thinking. This we also do it during very cold weather, because these are the areas which go numb, especially the nose, the tip of your nose, it goes numb in very cold weather. So he also was doing it automatically now and again, changing hands. So sometimes with the right hand, sometimes with the left hand, he went on doing it again and again. But rub as he would, the instant he stopped, his cheekbones went numb. Numb. Going numb means not having any sensation in one particular part of your body. So that is going numb. So no matter how much he rubbed, he was continuously doing it. He was automatically doing it without giving it a thought. But the moment he stopped doing it, what happened? That area became numb. Why it happened? Because it was severely cold, very, very cold, right? So the end of his nose went numb. He was sure to frost his cheek. He knew that, and experienced a pang of regret that he had not devised a nose strap of the sort part wore in the cold snap. So he knew. Now he had realized that these areas will go numb. He would frost his cheeks, right? So, and then frosted cheeks will be very painful. So he was sure that he will frost his cheeks no matter what he does, no matter how hard he tries, no matter how much he rubs. But again, it is absolutely impossible for him to protect his cheeks from getting frosted. And now there was a pang of regret that he had not devised some kind of nose strap, some kind of covering for his nose to cover them in such cold snaps. I told you the meaning of cold snap, that a period of very cold weather. But it didn't matter much after all. Such a strap passed across the cheeks as well and saved them. So a nose strap what would it have done? It would have passed across the cheeks also and covered and protected both the things. Means his cheekbones would have also been protected, and his nose tip would also be safe, right? So that was his regret, that he didn't devise anything. He didn't wear any kind of a nose strap to protect his nose and cheeks. But it didn't matter much. After all, what were frosted? A bit painful, that's all. But then after that moment of regret, he again thought that, okay, never mind, it won't matter much. What would happen if my cheeks are frosted? A bit painful, I'll experience some pain for some time. That is all. But it was not something very serious, right? So he tried to ignore this thought that his cheeks would be frosted. Empty as the man's mind was of thoughts, he was keenly observed. What happens when our mind is empty of thoughts? When we don't have much to think, we become observant, right? This is something which happens to us naturally. If you are preoccupied with a lot of thoughts, if you have a lot of things, if you are stressed, right? If your mind is occupied with many things, then what will happen? You will be completely oblivious of your surroundings. Yes or no? Then you will not pay any attention to what is there around you, because your mind will be occupied with your own stuff, your own thoughts. But when your mind doesn't have much to think, what will happen to you? You will observe your surroundings. You will become observant. So now, because the man's mind didn't have much to think, he only had 2 or 3 things to think about. The first one was that he will have his lunch at such and such time, and then the second one was that if he continues traveling at this speed, he'll reach the camp by 6 in the evening. And third, the weather is so cold, right? About the severity of the weather. These were the only things which he was thinking about at the moment. So his mind was not occupied with many thoughts, and so he was keenly observing. And he noticed the changes in the creek, the curves and bends and timber jams. Timber jams, it was there in the movie, the logs stuck, right? Because the river was frozen. So he saw these bends, the curves of the river and all these things, because the river was entirely frozen. And always he sharply noted where he placed his feet. And so he was very much careful, because he was very much observant. He was very careful and vigilant where he was placing his feet. Because you remember what happened in the movie. There might be water inside that crust of ice. Once coming around a bend, he shied abruptly, like a startled horse. So once when he was around a bend, what happened? He shied. He was like kind of very nervous, abruptly, like a startled horse, as if the horse gets startled now while walking. At times when the horse sees some danger, what happens? He is startled and he moves back. The horse moves back. So similarly, the similar thing happened to this man when he was across the bend. What happened? The bend of the river. What happened? He was kind of startled and he also moved back. He shied away. He shied away means he was kind of anxious and nervous. Like a startled horse curved away from the place where he had been walking. So he also curved away and moved away from the place where he was walking, and retreated several paces back along the trail. And then what happened? He went back several paces, means he moved several paces back from the trail. The creek he knew was frozen clear to the bottom. No creek could contain water in that Arctic winter. But he knew also that there were springs that bubbled out from the hillsides and ran along under the snow and on top of the ice of heat. So this was the reason why the water could be there under the ice. That there were springs, right, which what happened in the springs, the water from the mountains and the hills, from the hillsides, the water used to come. Though the river was frozen, but because the water was coming continuously, he knew the coldest snaps never froze these springs. Even the coldest snaps, even the coldest weathers cannot freeze those springs. And he knew likewise their danger. And so he was aware that it could be dangerous. These springs, these were water springs, these water which flow through the springs from the hills, they were not frozen. Even the rivers, even the coldest weather, they will not froze these springs. And so he was aware that if he steps on it, though it will seem to be hard ice, but underneath that ice there might be water. So this is why he shied away. They were traps. So they were kind of traps. They hid pools of water under the snow. So on top the snow would appear, but underneath that snow there might be water. Might be 3 inches deep or 3. So the pool of water under the snow, that might be, so the snow, the layer of the snow, the crust of the snow which was formed, it might be 3 inches or it might be 3 feet deep. But underneath them, water may be present. And what will happen if you will step on it, you will go inside. The layer of ice will break, the layer of snow which is formed, that will break, and your feet will go inside that water. And what will happen if you wet yourself in such cold weather? Immediately the water will be turned into ice, right? So if you get wet and you don't warm yourself, you don't dry that ice, or you don't get rid of that water, that wetness, what will happen? It will turn into ice. And once it turns into ice, what will happen? Your blood circulation will stop. You will not be able to move that part of the body, right? Slowly, everything will be turned into ice. He will not be able to move his limbs. So they hid pools of water under the snow that might be 3 inches deep or 3, right? So the snow on top of them might be 3 inches or 3 feet deep. Sometimes the skin of ice is half an inch thick covered them. So sometimes just a very thin layer of half an inch also covered them, and in turn was covered by snow, right? The layer of ice was just half an inch, and on top of it, because the snow was falling, it covered them. Sometimes there were alternate layers of water and ice. And sometimes what happened? A layer of ice, then layer of water, then layer of ice. So alternate layer of ice and water were also present. So that when one broke, so what was the result of it? That when one broke through, he kept on breaking through for a while. So if you land your foot on such a trap, this kind of a trap which has alternate layers of ice and water, and you break through one layer, what will happen? You will keep on breaking through, because none of the layers will be strong enough to carry your weight. Sometimes wetting himself to the waist. And then to land yourself, if you step on such a trap, what will happen? You might wet yourself till the waist. Any problem till here? That was why he had shied in such manner. That was the reason why he became nervous, because he sensed some danger. So he became nervous like a startled horse, like a horse which gets startled at some danger, when he senses some danger. So the man also shied away in such panic. He had felt the give under his foot and heard the crackle of the snow hidden ice. So he had felt the give under his foot. The give under his foot means, under his feet means that he had sensed the breakage under his feet. Means he was about to step on it, and then he heard that crackling sound of the snow hidden under the ice. The crackling sound of the ice he heard, right? So that is why he moved several paces back. All of a sudden he was startled and he just moved back, because he sensed, he heard some slight sound of ice crack, right? So He had felt the cave under his foot means he had heard that breaking kind of, the ice is about to break, that kind of crackling sound he heard. And to get his feet wet in such a temperature meant trouble. And getting wet at such a temperature, it meant serious trouble and danger. At the very least, it meant danger. So the least what it meant, getting wet, was getting delayed. As it is, he'll be able to reach his camp by 6 in the evening, right? But if he gets wet, then first thing it would mean would be that he will be delayed. Or he would be forced to stop and build a fire. And under its protection to bare his feet while he dried his socks and moccasins. Moccasins, I told you, were the type of shoes, right, with big stitches. So what it would mean? It would mean delay, because the first thing which he'll have to do, if he gets wet, the first thing which he'll have to do is to first build a fire, warm himself, dry the socks and the shoes, right? So it would take a lot of time. And then he will not be able to reach the camp in time. It will get dark also. And he stood and studied the creek bed and its bank and decided that the flow of water came from the right. So what did he do? To save himself from this danger and to save himself from getting delayed, he stood up and tried to study the creek bed, that is the bed of the river which was turned into ice, and the banks, and decided the flow of water came from the right. And then he understood, after observing, after looking at it carefully, he understood that the flow of water, the flow of that spring water was from the right. The water was coming from the right. He reflected a while and then he thought something for a while, rubbing his nose and cheeks. And while doing so, he was continuously rubbing his nose and cheeks. Then he skirted to the left. And then what did he do? He moved towards the left because the water was coming from the right. So he knew that going right would be dangerous. And so he avoided the right side and moved towards the left, right? Because he knew that the right side moving towards the right would be dangerous. Because it has been mentioned, he studied that the flow of water came from the right. The water was coming from the right side. So he decided that it would be safe to be on the left. Stepping gingerly. Stepping gingerly. Gingerly means cautiously, right? With a lot of caution. He moved towards the left and testing the footing for each step. And before standing on a particular place, he used to first test, right? Means keep his foot lightly. If there would be any crackling sound, he will move back, right? Instead of standing on a particular place with his full weight. So he was stepping cautiously on each foot and testing the footing of each step. So once clear of danger, he took a fresh chew of tobacco. And once he was clear of his danger, once he crossed that dangerous place, he again started chewing fresh tobacco and swung along at his 4-mile speed. And then he increased his speed at 4 miles per hour. Gait means walk. So he started walking at the speed of 4 miles an hour and took out some fresh tobacco to chew, right? So once he was out of this danger, when he was trying to cross that dangerous place, then he was walking very cautiously and very slowly, testing each step, right? So I think we should stop here and we'll continue on the next turn.